Okay. So okay, students. So good afternoon, and yeah. So we are actually going to start with today's class. Let me actually take the class first before I give you feedback, verbal feedback about last week's assessment and whatever else we have to do. Okay, so what we have today, this is the last part of motivation, where we are talking about the modern theories of motivation. Okay, now when we talk of the modern theories of motivation, there are five different theories that we have. Okay, so goal setting theory, McLean's theory of needs, equity theory of motivation, expectancy theory of motivation, and ERG theory. So let's start with the goal setting theory. Okay, so goal setting theory, when we talk of goal setting theory, so that the goal setting theory was who was the person who formed the or framed the goal setting theory was an individual, an expert who was called Edwin Locke, who was a researcher. Okay, so who actually, according to Locke, what he had to say that individuals who are able to set goals before they actually do a work, if they set their goals, they can actually perform much better than those who do not set goals. That's one thing. The second thing, what he also had to say is those who have a difficult goal to set. Difficult goals means you have a higher aspiration and you do that. So then you are in a better position. Your tendency to achieve the, because the goals are complicated, then you have a tendency to achieve it and you get a more satisfaction as compared to someone who has a very easy goal. You can easily, anyone can achieve it, so the level of satisfaction is not so much. So what the, in order to actually explain this goal setting theory, Locke had actually spoken about five different principles. You can see in this diagram we have the five different principles: clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and task complexity. So let's start with clarity. Now clarity, where we are talking of a goal which is very much clear, which can be achievable. That is, a clarity comes from the word clear. That is something which is very much specific, something which is very clear, and anyone can achieve that goal. Okay. Now when you and the what happens is when you have a very clear cut goals, a goal is clear, so you know you can set your time frame within which you can achieve that goal, only when if you have a very clearly defined goal. The next that comes up is the challenge. A challenge, what happens is, here what happens, the goal, like when you're setting your goal, that will have some difficulty. When you want to achieve something, there has to be some level of difficulty. If the goal that you want, if you have a very high goal and you know there are a lot of challenges that's coming up, difficulties there, so it also motivates you. Higher the level of difficulty, more is the level of motivation. And when you achieve it, you feel so satisfied. Then comes up is where we talk of commitment. Commitment is where effort comes into play. Okay, you have a very high goal. There are a lot of difficulties. You know, okay, this there I have to overcome these challenges. But are you putting in that effort to overcome the challenge? That's the big thing. So that needs to be there. That's where we are talking about commitment. Now, when we talk of, so your effort, when you're putting in a huge amount of effort, then what happens, where you are also satisfied, and you consider yourself to be accountable for the work that you're doing. You would take pride in it. If things go wrong, still you can justify, I've put in this effort, so these things didn't work, it was not within my capacity, it was something beyond my capacity, and something happened where of which I had no control. That then only can you say. Now, after that comes up is feedback. Now, feedback is what? Basically talking about where you talk about the progress. You're doing the work in achieving your goal. So the progress. What are the difficulties that you're facing? How, well, if was there any problems there? How, like, were there any hurdles? How did you handle it? Or was it so smooth? So how did it go about? Was everything as per the plan, or did you feel that there's some changes that had to be brought about, or some changes like the planning was not so good? So that's where it comes up, your feedback comes up. And the last thing that comes up is where we talk of task complexity. Okay, so what exactly happens is, if your goal is very complex, it's not easy, it's very complex. So what happens? You should have enough time to overcome the learning period. If it's a difficult job, you do not have not done it before, you have to go for a training. So the time period that you set to complete the job should also include the learning period. Otherwise, you cannot finish the work on time. So because if there's a you see what happens today is, if you talk of today at RTC, like when, because we are now going, we having online classes. So you all had to shift the whole procedure from in class, in class when you were there, to now virtual in class learning to virtual learning. So there was a shift. You also had to undergo some changes. For us, when we started taking classes online, there were some trainings given to us of using various platform of taking classes. So that training period should be that is a learning period. It is a challenge both for you as students, it's also a challenge for us as faculty. So to overcome the challenge, we need to be, there was a specific time given for us to learn before we actually started taking the classes. So it's difficult challenge, it's a difficult task, but it also included the learning period. If we are not equipped with it, then we cannot do it. And this comes up when your task is very complex. Okay, so now what exactly happens is, what the research has found out, researchers have found out that this goal setting principles that we have, that is there throughout the world, and in every country you have this. So it's not that it's only one specific organization or in one specific country, it's there throughout the world, which is always there. Okay, so that's what we have in goal setting theory. Okay, next, the second theory that we come across is, it's Buckland's theory of needs. Now, what Buckland had to say was that we as humans, our behavior is guided by three factors, three types of needs. What are these needs? Need for power, achievement, and affiliation. So let's actually talk about each of these things in more in details. Now, when we say need for power, power, as we say, when we say to actually control others' behavior, our control. So we some of us, we have a feeling we would love to actually influence others. If you feel that, okay, you are working there in a team and the people are not willing to listen to you, but you're correct, and you would want people to actually listen to you. So that wish, that desire within you, that, oh, how much I wish that others start listening to what I have to say. When others start listening to you, that means power. You have that capacity to influence others. Only when you are able to influence others would they listen to you. That's where we talk of need for power, influence. Okay, so why do we have this need? Because what happens in the organization, you can actually say, oh, because I have been able to, today the organization has been successful because people have been actually working as per my instructions. People have listened to me. So what happens? Your reputation, you would love to have recognition, and your position improves. So that's self recognition comes into place. So that's what need for power talks about. The next need that we have is need for achievement. Now, need for achievement is where we are actually trying to achieve, means to accomplish success, accomplish some things, accomplish in when you're trying to achieve some work. What happens? There has to be some standard benchmarks, and when you try to compare that, and you see that you have been able to, your level of success is much higher as compared to the standard benchmarks when we say, or the standards as we say, that is what the organization expects, the level of expectation. and accomplishment is your personal achievement. So if you are able to achieve much higher than the standards, so that gives you a sense of achievement that you've accomplished something. Here what happens, and people who are actually high, who have the tendency for achievement, they are, they are actually they are very much in, they would love to go for competition, they love competition, and they would love to take challenges. That's what it is. I want to compete, I want to achieve, I want to be best. This is the standard. I want to be better than the others. That's where it comes about. Okay. The third one that comes is the need for affiliation. Affiliation comes from the word affiliate. Affiliate means to be part of something. Part of what? Here we are talking of social relationships, social interpersonal relationships. That is when we are working in an organization. We want ourselves to be part of the group. We want people to accept us. Sometimes some of us, we do not fit into the situation. We feel very lonely, like that, but the need is there for all of us, that we want to be part of that gathering. We want people, when everyone is having talking together, we would also want to be part of it. I would want to also participate in it. I would want to cooperate in it. Cooperation, I want people to cooperate with me. So that longing, that's the social relationships that we are talking about. And I want people to also understand what I want to say. Now, these individuals who are actually the need for affiliation, right? They are very good performers in a team. They can work in a team. They can work with others. And the tendency is there that they would want people to like them. That feeling of longingness. Okay. The third theory that we have is the equity theory of motivation, which was put forward by John Stacy Adams in 1963. So what he had to say was, an individual can be motivated where there is fairness, is as well as equity. Equity comes from the word equal. Fairness, where everything is very much, everyone gets equal opportunity. Everyone, it's very much fair. If you do work, if you're really performing well, you're rewarded. If you're not able to perform well, then you are punished. So it has to be equal for everyone, irrespective of your position, irrespective of your contacts. So that's why equity comes from the word equal. So that's what they had to, what the theory says, that individuals are motivated by fairness, right? And there should not be any sort of equities happening. So, and equity in the sense of what? Equity, when we say inequality in the sense of input here means the total amount of efforts that you are putting. So inputs talks about your ability, the time that your efforts, your loyalty, your hard work, your commitment, your flexibility, your tolerance level, your level of your personal sacrifice, your trust in the superiors, support from the co-workers, colleagues. So this is where the input is what you're putting in. Output is what is the end result that comes up. It's a consequence of your putting the level of inputs that you're putting in. So what is that? It can be your job security, it could be your salary, it could be your position, it could be the benefits, the recognition, the reputation, the responsibility, sense of achievement, praise, appreciation. That should be there. Okay. And so that should be, when I talk of input output, that ratio has to be measured. That the total, when I say inequality, that which also means that the amount of effort that you are putting as an employee, are you getting the same end result? Is it equal? Is this ratio is equal? 1:1. That means equal, or sometimes it's more than the output is much more. But when we have inequities coming up, that means here we are talking in negative sense, where you put in more of effort, but the outcome is much less. Okay. And where you also talk of something called a referent group. Referent group is a selection of people an individual actually takes into consideration for comparing themselves. You are comparing yourself in respect to the best in the organization, where referent comes from the word reference. reference. In reference to whom? So you compare your position, you compare your performance, and sometimes we do it. We say, oh, but I've done better, I've put in more effort. Why is my performance less? Why have I not got that level of recognition which others have done, but I've done better? I know I've put in more efforts. Why is it that I will not get that recognition? So the equity theory actually talks about that the ratio, it's talking about the ratio of how much effort you're putting in to get the desired level of outputs. And when you're talking of that desired level of outputs, you are comparing it with someone else who has either done better than you, or who has not done so well, or against some specific standards that we have. Okay, so here what actually talks about, people are actually, every employee wants fair treatment. That if I'm putting in effort, whoever I may be, whatever may be my position, I should get that recognition, equal recognition, as compared to someone who is at a higher position. Why shouldn't I be given? But my recognition should come based on my performance, the efforts that I'm giving. There should be some sort of recognition. Maybe the end result may not be what I was looking for, what the company was looking for, but it could be because of certain changes that's happening beyond our control. But my effort should be recognized. That is what it talks about. Okay. The fourth theory that we have out here is where we talk of expectancy theory of motivation, which was put forward by Victor Broom in the year 1964. And this is actually an extension of Maslow's theory. It's based on Maslow's it's an extension. It comes up. The basic theory is the Maslow's theory and Herzberg's theory. We have already done that. So it's based on that. Okay. So, but what exactly it talks about here is, Room is actually talking about outcomes. It's talking about outcomes. So they're actually talking about the intensity of an individual to perform in a particular manner. It it actually depends. It depends on our expectation, and also that the when we expectation of what, that when we perform something there will be a definite outcome, and also that outcome would be as per our liking. So we are talking of the outcomes. The Vroom's theory talks of outcomes. We would be performing something, whatever we are performing. Yes, the amount of efforts that we are giving is based on the level of performance that we would want. If you're asked to do some a work which you do not like it, but you have to do it, you would not put in so much effort. But if it's a work that you like it, just suppose what happens today, if any of you really love music, and you would like to compose some music of your own, so what happens, you would put in more effort, because the outcome is that so that your music will be popular, people would like it, and you want that, you like it, you like that outcome, that like the outcome of what, that the music that is being composed, that's going to come out, people are going to like it, it's going to be played in the movies, it's going to be get recognition, so you like that, you want that, so you put in more effort. Rather than, if you do not want to do something, if you do not want to do, like sometimes we do not want to do some work, like, oh, we are so tired, don't want to do this, don't want to do that, but have to do it, we are forced to do it, then the level of effort that we put, we do not do it so much. So we first look into what we want to achieve. Is it what we like to? Is it something as per liking? Then we put in that effort. So that's what expectancy theory talks about. Now, when we talk of expectancy theory, there are three things that comes up. One is what is called valence. Valence is the outcome of how much an individual wants, how much reward you want. That is called valence. Okay. The second that talks about is your expectancy. Expectancy, which talks about the effort that would lead to your expected performance. Expectancy comes from their expectation. And the third talks of where we talk of instrumentality, that is the performance should lead to some reward. So Vroom spoke about three concepts: valence, where how much would you want recognition, the level of recognition that you want, that is valence. Then the other is where we talk of expectancy, that your effort would lead to certain level of performance. And the third is instrumentality, where your performance would lead to a reward. Okay, so you see this: expectancy is effort, instrumentality is your performance, valence is your reward. So this is how it goes about. Okay, we go to ERG theory of motivation. That's the last theory that we have. And ERG theory of motivation is again where it was put forward by Clayton Alderfer, and it's his work is called ERG theory. So where he recategorized Maslow's theory of needs. Maslow's theory has so many layers, so many when the needs are categorized into so many different components. But Clayton had the needs that he had categorized the needs into three simple categories. Okay, so it's much more easier. So, but it's based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So it's and everything is covered there. So the first thing that comes up is the existing needs. Existing needs is talking about the basic material necessities, basic needs. Basic needs is where we talk about the physiological needs and our safety needs. Physiological needs is where we talk of food, clothing, shelter, and safety. Second type of needs is related needs, where we want to be part of the society, the need to be part of a society. It could be your family, it could be friends, it could be your bosses, to get fame, people recognition. So that's the social needs where we come across. Social needs comes into play. And the third that we have, the third needs that is called as the growth needs. So growth needs, it's where we talk of our development, self-development, our personal growth, and our advancement. So this is the totally the higher order of where we talk of self-actualization. Uh, we're talking of self-actualization, where we've achieved everything. Now we are talking about our own personal growth. We have to move ahead. Okay, now what happens is, what according to the ERG theory, now there's a one thing which we call, there's a concept which we have which is called frustration regression. What happens is, if our needs, our level of needs, it's quite high, right? And we would like to achieve that. As long as we are not able to achieve it, if there's some hurdles that comes up, then we tend to get frustrated. We tend to get frustrated, and then we actually start, just we have, it has a negative effect. So we start concentrating on achieving something, the needs which is of the base, some of the basic needs, lower order needs. If we are not able to achieve that, out of frustration, if we go downwards. That's what it is. If we are achieving, we are so happy, and so that leads us, that motivates us to achieve something higher. And the moment we cannot achieve that higher level, it's we have a frustration coming into our play. We undergo frustration, and that demotivates us, and so we start getting happiness in achieving something which is of a lower needs, some a lower needs, not a higher order needs, but a lower needs. So that's what I said. Frustration leads to regression. Regression means to go down. Now, what from the manager's point of view, a manager has to understand that an employee has different various types of needs. It cannot be one need, and that must be satisfied. I'm repeating it once again, that must be satisfied at the same time. We have multiple needs. It's not just food, shelter, and clothing. We need recognition. We want achievement. We want to grow. We want some training. We want to enhance our skills. So a manager, if you are a successful manager, you have to concentrate on you have to concentrate or look after all these needs. If you concentrate as the manager only on one needs of the employee, which is as per your convenience, then people are not going to get motivated and your employees are bound to leave the organization. So this is what we have is for the ERG theory of motivation. Okay. Right. So this is the what we have as per my whatever I have to say. Now I'll open the floor for you, and where if you have any questions, tell me. Is there any questions or anything that you did not understand? Do you have any questions? Or have you followed everything? Have you followed, or do you have any questions, any clarification?
Ma'am,
Yes.
can you re-explain the fourth theory, ma'am? Expectancy theory of motivation.
Expectancy theory of motivation. When we say, can you actually tell me where, what exactly are you talking about? The
No,
three
ma'am. The first
concepts?
part, ma'am. The first
First part?
paragraph.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. So it's basically expectancy. You know what? The effort expectancy theory talks about, it's concentrating about the outcome. Like the example that I gave you, say for becoming a musician. If you would love to become a musician, right? And you know what happens if you are a successful musician, people will actually give you praise, you get recognition, right? So you would actually want, in that case, what happens is you would want to put in effort to achieve, to become a musician because you want it. You want that. You love to do it, so you will put in more efforts. So your efforts is determined by the outcome. If the outcome is as per your likings, like outcome here is to become a more musician, you want to become, you like that, the end result, so you will put in more efforts. But if you are asked to say, suppose you do not like to read a book, books you do not like, and someone has told you that you have to read a book and tell to them that what does a book talk about? You are not a very good book reader. So what will you do? You will not put an effort. You will just browse through something, get the feedback, reviews, and just say something vague. You'll not put an effort. You try to do some shortcut method. So it's it's the efforts. In other words, what I mean to say is the level of efforts that you're putting in is based on the end results, whether you would love to have the end result or not, whether you like it. Are you clear?
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions? Is there anyone else? Uh, I don't see anyone telling me anything. So have you all understood then?
Madam, madam,
Yes. Tell me.
can you explain on the frustration and the regression? ERG theory.
Frustration. Sure. Now, what happens is we as human beings, what do we do? Like we would want achievement. We slowly start actually talking about like where we are actually we would want to achieve something more in life, right? We would want to achieve it. We would want to go on achieving. We are happy when we achieve something. Then we say, okay, we would want something where we would want to go on and achieve something more, so a higher achievement, so that we start expect we would, if we achieve and people accept, people like us, people praising us, so that motivates us to go on and achieve something higher. Now if by any chance we are not able to achieve the highest level of satisfaction that we are looking for, if we are not able to achieve, what happens? If we do not get what we want, we tend to become frustrated. And when we tend to become frustrated, the human psychology says so that we then start taking pleasure in some small achievements, which otherwise, like basic needs, we are happy with it. If we cannot achieve the higher order needs, we become frustrated, and then we take pride in achieving of smaller work which does not require much efforts. And because why are we doing this? So it is actually a negative effect. So we, instead of moving ahead in life, we're just going down because we are not able to achieve that. The frustration comes within us and it's actually pulling us back. So what happens? You see, sometimes we tell in class, see, you have talent, so you are doing so well. What we are you? Why is it that you're not able to do? What happened to you that this all of a sudden that you're not able to perform well? What is wrong? So sometimes what we have when we are not able to achieve what we want, frustration comes within us and it actually starts pulling us down, and then we say, oh, we are happy with this performance, with the average performance. Why? We have lost confidence. We have lost confidence in ourselves, that we feel that that we can achieve something higher, we can do something more. That confidence goes away because we have not been able to achieve that higher level. So we lose confidence, we become frustrated, and so we tend to be happy with the average performance. So that's regression, means going down. Average performance is down. Is it okay?
Okay,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any others? Is there any other?
Okay.
Huh?
Madam,
Yes, tell
uh,
me.
madam, can you please explain me goal setting theory, madam?
Goal setting theory. Okay, goal
Yes, madam.
setting. Yes, goal setting theory is all of us when we are talking in life, we need to have a goal, right? When we are working, any organization, if you see, there has to be a specific goal that has to be set. Otherwise, how would the organization move? And higher the degree, higher the more complex a goal is, more that means more difficulty comes there. So the challenge is much more. And so when the challenge is much more, what happens? It gives us immense satisfaction when we achieve that, when we overcome that hurdle and achieve it. We say, oh my God, there was so much hurdles, but still you achieve it. So you get recognized. So that's what it is. It depends. The higher the complexity, more difficult, it's a more complex goal, it's difficult to achieve, so more hurdles, so you put in more efforts, and then you actually monitor, analyze yourself to see what were the challenges, how did you overcome it, and whether you were you able to overcome it, were you able to go implement it as per the plans. It also talks about how effective is the plan of the organization, whether the planning, we've discussed about planning, so whether the planning is really effective, whether things have been organized in the right way. It also talks about organizing, whether everything, all the raw materials of all the inputs, all the technology, everything is in the right place. So that also helps us in analyzing how well is an organization planned. And when we achieve it, gives us a lot of satisfaction.
Satisfaction.
Yeah. Is it clear, Pema?
Yes, yes, madam. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Anyone else? Is there anyone else?
No, ma'am.
Okay. If there is nothing else from your side, then let me actually talk about a little on today's the feedback. I already texted you on the messenger. Now, what happens is when you're writing, it's on your last assessment that you had. Of course, I know I've seen your assessment results, your answers. I mean, for me, I've understood. It was clear to me that you've understood. That was very much clear to me, right? But thing is, you have the only my only concern is that I know, even if I had not checked on the software plagiarism detector, it was very much evident whether it's your writing or not. So if you, whenever you are writing your answers, you can always refer. I have no problem with it. But you need to give references from where you took it. If you are directly copying, you have to give a reference. If you are paraphrasing, still you have to give a reference. And if you're writing by yourself, then it's fine. But that is important because the moment you submit, it is, we have, the college has a software for plagiarism detection, which is the urkund, which immediately tells us to what extent have you copied or paraphrased from any source without giving references. So that is what I have to say. Okay, I am not saying that you will not refer. Of course, you will refer, but you have to give me the references, the from where you've referred. That has to be there because if you do not do, from fourth to 11th of May is your midterm exams. If you do not give the references from where you're taking, because it's going to be open book, it's on you very well know that. And if you do not give me the references, then no other go but to just mark 0 there. Your efforts will be gone. And the other thing is there, of course, some of you, if you when you will, it's quite natural that you will be discussing amongst yourself. It happens because there's it is bound to happen. But even if you refer, even if you give the same points, but you have to write it by in your own words. That has to be there, because if both the answers are same, then also it is cheating or plagiarism, as we say. And the person who submits last will be marked 0. Please keep that in mind, because it tells us we get to know who has submitted first, who has submitted last. We get the timing. The moment you submit, the time comes up to us. So you need to be careful. If you're helping your friends, please be careful that how you're helping, not just giving them the copy paste. If you are taking help from your friends, take your help, but write in your own words. That's what I'm saying. Points can be same, there's no problem with that, but the writing has to be your own. This is what you have to be very, very careful with this. Otherwise, it's going to be big problem. Okay, you all are studying ACS, you all are being taught all these things, and it is not just applicable only for ACS, it is applicable for every single module. Please be very, very careful with this. Okay, am I clear with all of you?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
yes, yes. So this is
Yes,
what
ma'am.
yes. So
Yes,
this is
ma'am.
okay. So this is what I have to say. Okay. So this is where things went wrong with, like, this was only my concern was this with with the assessment that you had done. Okay. And I have some announcements to make. That is your midterm exams, as you know, it's happening from 4th of May till the 11th of May. Okay. That's finalized. The dates are finalized. Timetable will come up hopefully by the end of this week. It will be there. So you'll get to know the timing and the timetable, and you will all the exams will happen on BLE. Okay, that college has decided on this, so they will be it will be happening, and accordingly you will get instructions from the college how to go about with your exams, what are the steps to follow. Okay, and you have to finish your exams within the time given to you. It's 2.5 hours exam, and first year exams, that is second semester exams, will happen from 9 o'clock. All your exams happens from 9 o'clock, 9 to 11:30, right? After 11:30, if you submit after 11:30, you know what will happen. You very well know, because it's an exam going on. You have to submit before that, right? So it's 1.5 hours exam, like just like midterms. Midterms, you have 1.5 hours, followed by given 1 hour extra is given to you because of the technical issues and all these problems. So you have to be very, very fast when you're writing it. And for my exam, I do not want you to write pages after pages. There is a word limitation up there. You will have for my exam, what's exactly going to happen is there will be a case given to you, and based on that case, there are 5 different questions asked. Each question from each chapter, one question from one chapter. So you have 5 chapters, unit 1 to unit 5. So 5 questions, one from each chapter. Okay, so each of these questions will be 10 marks. So where you'll be asked to write like either the reasons or your recommendations or measures for which there is no answer. Even if you search on the internet, you will not get any answer. It has to be yours. Read the case thoroughly, come out with your own answer. And there is a word limitation given to you. So I don't want you to write pages after pages. Some 2-3 sentences for each point is enough for me, where you are able to explain to me. Please do not write a huge, big thing. You don't have to write. Okay, this is not an essay that you're doing it. I don't want any introduction. I don't want any conclusion. Straight away, write the answers. Where if my question says what are the explain any 4 factors, any four factors. So your answer should start with the possible four factors are one, you say what of the factor you're talking about, underline the point, explain, give me two, three sentences, go to the second one, again, whatever your point is, whatever factor, underline it, two, three sentences, and so on. Third one, fourth one, and finished. That's it. That's all I want from you. Nothing more and nothing less. And when you're answering your questions, it has to be with respect to the case. I do not want any general answers. You have to talk from the point of the case. Just give me a specific answer. That's all I want from you. Nothing more than that. Am I clear with all of you? Is it
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So if
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
a okay, there's another thing. So the next thing that I have to tell you is where today, right now, after this, after the class, you just go to your mail, RTC mail. You see the question. Today's assessment is given to you. It's already in your mailbox. It has been sent. It's there in Google form. You write these, and there are three questions based on today's class. You fill it up and submit. Okay, it's an online test that is happening today. Just fill up the answers. Word limitation is given to you. Fill it up and
Yes, ma'am.
submit. Okay, so it's already there in your box.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, so this is for today's thing, and this I have something to say about the next class. The next class, what is actually going to happen is where you have to uh, prepare all the five chapters thoroughly. Next Tuesday, 9 o'clock, you will be immediately 9 o'clock when you will open your mailbox. You will get the questions. The questions will be there in your mailbox in the Google form. You will fill it up and submit to me. I'll give you the timing, okay? After which we will come on the Google Meet just as you did today, and we will have a discussion, a final discussion, and whatever doubts, queries you have in your chapters, we will discuss on that. Okay? So am I clear?
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
right.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
okay. So what I want you to write